Daniel Jones is probably worse than JaMarcus Russell, who is arguably the worst quarterback in NFL history.
And everywhere, this is for you.
What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, back with another one, Philly, the podcast. You know we in the building. So look, I know you saw the title, okay? And I know if I was to be the one to break this down, I'd be called a hater. So what did I do? I went and got my boy from Raw Sports Talk, who he covers everything. You know what I'm saying? Definitely go check out his channel. I'm a big fan of his channel. He just covers everything with sports betting, everything. If you want to learn a little something, he's the channel to watch. I will have his link in the description, so check him out. But yeah, we got our special guest, Chris from Raw Sports Talk. What's going on, my man?
Not much. Thank you so much, Joe, for inviting me on your show. I watch it all the time. I'm always hooked. And as you know, I'm a Giants fan. So me saying that I'm hooked to an Eagles fans channel is,
Hey, I'll take
it might be blasphemous. So it's really like the realest fans and the truest fans are the ones who can look at their team objectively and be like,
exactly,
this is what we need to do. This is what we're doing wrong. And, where the hell are we going from here? And I know, just like you did, that I watched that dumpster fire of a game on Thursday night between my New York Giants and your Philadelphia Eagles. And I told you before the game even started that I was expecting your boys to put a whooping on my team. And then when they came out and we were going score for score in the beginning of the game, and then we went up 21-10, I was looking at the game and I'm like, what in the world is going on here? Like, do you boys not want to improve your team? You're going to win a game that we have no business winning.
And honestly, I feel like to stay on that, I feel like the Eagles and the Giants were trying to let the other team win as much as possible. Until the end of that game, the Eagles were making many, many mistakes, as were the Giants. Like you said, you guys are in a different position. We're supposed to be good. We're supposed to be a playoff team. And, not to talk junk, you guys are kind of in a rebuild mode to say the least. We will be talking about your quarterback, but I do want to just, kind of stay on the Thursday night for a second, and then we'll get to that. But like I said, you guys made a lot of mistakes. We made a lot of mistakes. We did come out with the win. It was not pretty. I know a lot of Eagles fans were not excited. I can't say we weren't happy. We were happy to be in first place, happy to win, but definitely not what we wanted. So let me ask you, before we get into your quarterback, I want to kind of get your opinion from the outside on our quarterback, because I know you saw my video where I was upset with, Jalen Hurts wanting to bench him and, the reaction I got from Philly fans. So just from a Giants fan, I kind of want to know your perspective on the Eagles quarterback situation.
Well, I know that injuries are a part of the game, and everyone always is saying that Carson Wentz is glass, which isn't necessarily the truth.
My man.
When you don't have people necessarily protecting you, it's kind of hard to stay healthy. So that's number one. And I get that Nick Foles took you boys to the Super Bowl and you won a Super Bowl and you haven't done it with Carson Wentz. But Nick Foles is a backup quarterback. Carson Wentz is a franchise quarterback. I have more faith in your quarterback than you guys probably do. And I say that if you take him and put him on the Cleveland Browns, are the Cleveland Browns the front runner in the AFC North? I mean, if you take him and put him on your hated rivals in Pittsburgh, in the Steelers, when Roethlisberger retires, that's a dangerous team. So it's not like we're saying we take this dude who's mediocre and a game manager and just does what he has to do to get by. Your boy took your team back, and it's just like he's not comfortable unless your team is down 10 or 15 points, and then he really comes out and starts to shine, which in the playoffs is exactly what you want. But in the regular season, you don't want to be sitting at the edge of your chair every day going, is this dude going to throw an interception? Are we going to convert a first down on this drive? Like, I'm sure Jets fans would be thrilled to have Carson Wentz. There's so many garbage teams like the Denver Broncos with Drew Lock. You take Carson Wentz and put him on the Broncos, they're probably a Super Bowl caliber team. It's just your offensive line is trash. My offensive line is trash. Our division is trash right now. We've got a division of rebuilding teams, and how scary is that one of these teams is actually going to make the playoffs at like 6-10.
And I will say, even, before obviously the injury to Dak, I will say that the Cowboys on paper were the better team. The Eagles and the Cowboys were obviously fighting for this division, but I still feel like, especially with all the injuries that we have, and this is a homer pick, I know it is, but I feel like if we can make the playoffs, we can make a little bit of noise if we're healthy. We do get Jason Peters back. We do get Miles Sanders back this week. Lane Johnson, hopefully he's like a 1-3 type guy. We'll see what happens, but like I do feel like we can get there because I do think Carson Wentz has the tools in his own arsenal, I should say, not maybe necessarily the team around him, but he has the tools to be a great quarterback. And I feel like especially Giants fans and Eagles fans, I think we can both kind of agree with this. We had great quarterbacks. If you want to call Eli great, I feel like Eli made some great plays. He was a good quarterback. And I feel like Donovan McNabb was a great quarterback. Both of them did not have very much to work with on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously Eli had OBJ at the end of his career, but outside of that, what I mean?
But Eli had the defense just like your boys had the defense. So it always seems like our teams in our division win Super Bowls on defense. Now, when you look at it, if Eli doesn't escape and throw up some friggin' Hail Mary that gets stuck to a helmet, are we even talking about Eli Manning being a great quarterback? Like,
he won 2 Super Bowls. So for me, and he won them against the evil empire. So, I'm not saying he's a Hall of Famer. I'm far from saying he's a Hall of Famer. I think even Donovan McNabb, Tony Romo, I think they're very borderline Hall of Fame. Like, you can make a case for them. Same thing with Eli. You can make a case against them. You can make a case for them. But reason why I bring that up is because with this draft coming up, and you guys prospectively, you most likely are going to be looking at a top 5 pick, top 10 at the, very least. What do you guys do? Do you work on the offense? I know a lot of people are saying tank for Trevor, but if Trevor is out of the picture, you know what I'm saying, and you're not able to get a quarterback, is there another position that you think you need to shore up? Is it offensive line? Is it, the defense again?
I honestly say that, as I said before, with our team, and same thing with your team, defense wins championships. We can get a game manager in what I think our quarterback necessarily probably is, and, win a Super Bowl with a game manager at quarterback, especially if we can't get Trevor. If the Jets find a way to win a game like they almost did last week against the Bills, this is a completely different story if we're both one-win teams. So I think that we need to improve our defense. Yes, our offensive line needs a ton of help, but, we're going to get Saquon back next year. Now, is he going to get injured again next year because the offensive line can't protect him? He didn't get injured in the backfield. He got injured on one of his runs. So things like this happen, like what happened with Dak. Dak was scrambling out and Dak broke his ankle.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the game. So I would love for our defense to improve. I know our offensive line is going to improve. And to segue into why we're here, I think the segue needs to improve.
So yeah, perfect segue. Let's get into that, because we were talking outside of obviously this video, and you brought up something to me that kind of caught my attention, especially as an Eagles fan. And you brought up a stat, and I'm going to read the stat. JaMarcus Russell in his first 20 games had 14 interceptions, 16 fumbles. Daniel Jones in his first 20 games is sitting at 19 interceptions and 23 fumbles. So it begs the question, is Daniel Jones the next JaMarcus Russell, or is he worse? I know you did some research, so I'm going to kick back. I'm going to let you take control of the show at this point. So, you go ham. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the next JaMarcus Russell is a little bit challenging because JaMarcus Russell was the number 1 overall pick. And unfortunately for Daniel Jones, he wasn't the number 1 pick. So being picked number 1 and being picked number 6 or being picked number 10, the standard is held a little bit different. Now, I'm going to still hold him to that same number 1 pick because I felt that we overreached for him when we drafted him. But just to go over what JaMarcus Russell did in his first 20 games, he had 16 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. He had a 6-14 record. He threw for 3,004 yards. He had 16 fumbles and 19 of which were lost. And 9 of them which were lost. So even though he was fumbling the ball, he was holding on to the ball just a tad bit more than Daniel Jones. So now we could go to Daniel Jones's stats. So in his first 20 games, he's thrown for 4,437 yards. He has 29 touchdowns, 19 interceptions, 23 fumbles, 15 of which he's lost, and he's got a 4-16 record. So now when you hear that, that is tremendously hard to argue with when you're saying that, is he the next JaMarcus Russell? So I went one step further and I did our division. And unfortunately for you Washington football fans out there, you guys haven't had a quarterback in a decade. So it's difficult to do,
I would have been impressed if you could find a quarterback that played 20 games for the Washington Redskins in succession.
That's a challenge all to itself. So we'll go and do the much hated Dallas Cowboys. Now, Dak Prescott in his first 20 games, Dak Prescott was 15-5 in his first 20 games. He threw for 4,608 yards. He had 31 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 9 fumbles, and he lost 4 of them. Now, this was a third-round dude. Now we're talking about 2 dudes who were in the first round, and both of them had a losing record. Daniel Jones at 4-16 and JaMarcus Russell at 6-14. And then we go to your boy.
It's my quarterback.
Who you are very, very critical of, and I figured I'd save the best for last.
I knew I was going to get this one. I was waiting for it.
So Carson Wentz is 10-10 in his first 20 games. He struggled his first year because you guys weren't there yet. He threw for 4,840 yards in his first 20 games. He's got 22 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, 17 fumbles, and he only lost 4 of them. So now, when you're looking at these quarterbacks in our division or all of these quarterbacks that I just said on the list, as much as it pains me to say this, and I'm not very high on Dak Prescott was the best quarterback on this list. Granted, he had the best offensive line and the best team surrounding him. But, even Carson Wentz, 22 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. Yeah, he fumbled the ball 17 times, but your team only lost the ball 4 times. When Danny Dimes, with his little cute nickname, fumbles, every time he fumbles the ball, the other team gets it. And how do you win as a franchise when your quarterback can't hold on to the ball? And I've been saying this since we drafted him and after his rookie year, and everyone's like, we can improve him fumbling the ball. Look at Kirk Cousins. When the game was the brightest and the lights were on him, a ball would get snapped to Kirk Cousins. He'd be in the shotgun, and you know this as well as I do. He'd fumble it. The other team would pick up the ball and run it into the end zone for a touchdown, and the Redskins would lose. Yeah, well, they were the Redskins then.
Yeah, it's going to be odd.
The game, or the Vikings would lose the game. So Daniel Jones, to me, is a rich man's Kirk Cousins. JaMarcus Russell is a bit of a reach, but the numbers are there to imply that he is what he is. But I'm going to lean more towards him being like a rich man's Kirk Cousins. We definitely overreached for him because if you put Daniel Jones on any other team, are they going to be any better? I mean, you take Daniel Jones and put Daniel Jones on your Eagles. Do you guys have a win this year?
Probably not. And that begs the question to me. If next year, let's say he wins 2 or 3 games this year, let's say he takes you out of that first 2 or 3 picks, and he shows some promise, is there anything that Daniel Jones at this point in his career, in his Giants career, that he can show you that would make you say, let's give him 1 more year and build a team around him?
We've seen great quarterbacks take bad teams and bring them to the playoffs. So if he takes this disaster of a team to the playoffs, I will have to shut my mouth and eat crow. But I don't think that he's that good. I mean, Carson Wentz took a decent team to the playoffs. Dak Prescott had a great team, which he took to the playoffs. Kirk Cousins took an awful team to the playoffs. So if we're saying that he's a rich man's Kirk Cousins, the playoffs is the bar. And I know, just like what you guys know, that it's like we find a way to win these games that we're not supposed to win. And now Daniel Jones isn't going to be the answer. And I have a very strong suspicion that we're going to be in this like Baker Mayfield talk where, you know, now everyone's going to be making excuses for Daniel Jones the same way they make excuses for Baker Mayfield. Like his offensive line was bad. He doesn't have a number one wide receiver. Evan Engram is a top 10, potentially tight end. He doesn't get utilized nearly enough. Saquon Barkley is a top 5 running back when he's healthy. You know, we'll go top 5. Let's go top 10 because we'll be optimistic. Let me not be.
I'd say top 3 personally. I mean, but I'm a Penn State fan, so maybe I've got a little something to do with that.
I'm not trying to be a homer, so you know we could go top 10. And everyone uses this illusion of we're New York. I get it. I'm from there. That's where I was brought up. And I don't see the appeal. It doesn't matter where you are. You know, if you're winning in Cleveland or you could go to the Giants and lose, where would you rather go? And it's like,
facts.
You know.
Yeah, I think people, like you said, excuse me, people put too much stake on the market and not the team's success. You know, this isn't baseball. I feel like, you know, you say you want to go play for the Yankees, even if they're having a bad year. A lot of people are going to say, heck yeah, I want to go play for the Yankees. This is not baseball. You know, football players, they want to win. They want to get paid. In New York, you're going to have way more taxes than you would in somewhere like Cleveland. So there's a lot of different factors that go into a football player's decision. I think, you know, I feel like you guys need to go back to the days that you had 3 solid running backs. I love Saquon and I love what he does for your team, but I feel like your team needs to build.
Think about this. Just think that Nick Foles could go to the Super Bowl again with the Chicago Bears.
You know what I'm saying?
In my opinion, and I don't know what your opinion is of Nick Foles
right now, but if you
I think Nick Foles is a backup quarterback. But because
off of the run,
he's got a fantastic defense.
I feel like now that they have a really good,
I'm not going to say they've got a great running game, but they've got a serviceable running game.
Many decisions, and
they're in a position to win some games. Yes, they just got embarrassed by the Rams.
We won the Super Bowl.
So
you know, it might not look on the surface.
Look at what the City Chiefs are doing.
I feel like a running
They're taking the ball out of an MVP's hands and letting them build. Now you're at the point where, like I said, it's like with Andy Reid, want a game manager. Like I know that the Chicago Bears went and traded for, Nick Foles. But look at how many teams have game managers at quarterback, and look at how many of these teams are actually winning. You know,
it's impressive.
The Bears have a game manager at quarterback.
You know, Doug can take something out of his.
They're not winning because of Nick Foles. They're probably winning in spite of Nick Foles. The Cleveland Browns. Yes, Baker Mayfield threw the game-winning touchdown in the corner. That's besides the point. You know, his running game is there. And I'm a bit of a Baker hater, as you can tell. You know.
I'm assuming you're saying no to Daniel Jones being worse than JaMarcus Russell.
It's challenging to say, but I'll say that he is worse than JaMarcus Russell, and I'll go out and make that bold statement because when JaMarcus was fumbling the ball, he wasn't losing it. Yes, Daniel Jones has thrown for more yards than JaMarcus Russell in his first 20 games, but this is a passing league now. You know, this is way more of a passing league than it was 10 years ago. I mean, look at the Hall of Fame. You got dudes who are in the Hall of Fame who threw for 30,000 yards, and now Drew Brees is throwing for 70,000 yards. Mm-hmm. So there's a dramatic difference in how much these teams are passing the ball. So when I look at a difference of, 350 yards roughly over the first 20 games, JaMarcus had garbage games. That's not a lot, a number 1 overall pick, a number 6 overall pick. And when we go through the list and a 3rd round pick has got the most yards, the 2nd most yards and the best winning record in our damn division.
Yeah, don't remind me, man. Don't remind me that I do have Dallas fans that watch these shows, so I'm sure they're going to be in the comments like, Leave me alone! I definitely want to get you on here again. I appreciate you coming on here so much, man. And, basically saying what I wanted to say, but, with with the stats to back it up. I appreciate that.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me, Joe. I mean, statistics are statistics. You know, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. That's just where we are right now. And, you know, this is not me being a homer, because clearly I'm saying that Daniel Jones is probably worse than JaMarcus Russell, who is arguably the worst quarterback in NFL history. And I appreciate you having me. I love your show. And, you know, congrats on the success, because I've watched your channel just explode. So it's great, you know, even coming from a Giants fan, you know, you Eagles fans are loyal, you know, and I like you more because you're objective.
But I try to be honest, you know, like if this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm feeling, I'm going to share it with, you know, whatever audience wants to hear it. And we see how it goes from there. A lot of people get upset, but, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, but other than that, y'all know what time it is, man. It's Fly, Eagles Fly, and we are out shit. So, peace.